Hola y bienvenidos! Welcome to our video review over preterite versus imperfect. We learned this last year in Spanish too, so this is a quick review on when we use preterite and when we use imperfect. Toda la información está del libro Avancemos 3, Unidad 1, Leccion 2. Quickly to connect this with English, in English you can use the simple past tense for actions in the past, whether they were completed or not. To emphasize that an action was in progress, we would use the past progressive tense. This would be like saying Pedro was swimming. In Español, this is when we use the imperfect. Pedro nadaba, or I could say Pedro estaba nadando. Preterite versus imperfect. Toda la información de este video está en la página 68 del libro Avancemos. So, we already have covered in our previous videos the two tenses that refer to the past, the preterite and the imperfect. But how do we know when each is used? Empezamos con el preterito. Let's start with our rules for preterite. So here's how we know when to use which in the past. We use the preterite tense to describe an action or a series of actions that have been completed in the past. Remember, my action for this that I taught you in class is snap, or you can say boom. Because if we think of an explosion or anything like that, we know it's a one-time thing. Un ejemplo aquí. Aquel día Pedro fue a la playa y jugó al voleibol playero. Since I'm talking about one specific day, I will have events that were one time. He went to the beach and played beach volleyball. So remember, it's a snap or a boom. For the imperfect, we will use this tense for ongoing actions or states of being in the past without focusing on their beginning or end. We will also always use the imperfect to say what time it was or what the weather was like in the past. The action I want you to think of for this is the wave. So you can take your hand and kind of make a wave motion. This is because it's more than once. It's that ongoing. Aquí tengo un ejemplo. Elena siempre iba a la playa cuando hacía buen tiempo. In this case, I'm saying Elena always used to go. So since it's something that was a habit in the past, I will use the imperfect, iba, to the beach when the weather was nice. Since I'm describing weather, remember, anytime I'm talking about weather in the past, I'm using that imperfect tense, hacía buen tiempo. Quick couple review over what we learned in the last video over the imperfect tense. We have this acronym to help you out. I can show that. Remember, I stands for interrupted activity. Remember, the background, whatever was going on, will get the imperfect. The interrupting action will be conjugated in preterite. So we're actually going to have a sentence that contains both. I will show you an example in the next slide. Simultaneous actions, anything that will be going on simultaneously or at the same time. Often these are connected with the word mientras. This would be like I am speaking and you are listening. Those are happening simultaneously. So both will be in the imperfect. Habits in the past, anything you used to do, will take the imperfect. Anything ongoing, anything that was happening or was in progress, will take the imperfect. As we just saw on the previous slide, remember weather and time both are going to have imperfect. Some other uses are description or background information and ages. All of those are uses of imperfect. It's a little acronym to help you out. Finally, sometimes you will need to have imperfect and preterite in the same sentence. I will use the imperfect to tell what was going on in the background, and I will use the preterite for the interrupting action of the main event. This is like what we just saw here with our acronym I can show that. That I is standing for interrupted activity, because our first one, our background gets the imperfect and the interruption takes the preterite. So, an example of this would be Yo nadaba cuando Pedro llegó a la playa. I first started with the imperfect here. I was swimming, so I use that imperfect to say what was ongoing when Pedro arrived. Suddenly I changed to the preterite because I was in the process of doing this when Pedro arrived to the beach and interrupted my action. Muy bien, chicos. Gracias por ver y adiós.